Good afternoon to everybody and our audience. And once again, I'm Vandana Gupta from WeCare Foundation, coming back to all of you to meet you, to talk to you. As you know, we've had multiple series. One was on radiation, chemotherapy, diet, psychosocial aspects, and a fun evening. The idea started because there were lots of patients who wanted to meet us, who were missing us, I think, never had a opportunity to have a face-to-face meeting for the last 3 months. So we thought it was a good chance to learn and to teach. And fortunately, all the doctors, all the those people agreed to it. And so we had all these sessions. Then after the sessions got over and the lockdown was still going on, we decided to have more disease specific topics. And the first one that we took on was CML and GIST. So warm welcome to Pramod, Vijay and Dr. Sengar for being here to answer all these questions. Pramod is a survivor, a CML survivor for about 16 to 17 years. And these days he's also working for the Indian Express, and thanks to him I get my daily dose of the news. Vijay, of course, is a director of the South Asian region of Max Foundation and is also working for the Max Trust and also the Chai for Cancer, which is a huge project that Vijay has taken up. And then Dr. Sengar, not the last, but the best, right? Dr. Sengar is a professor at Tata Memorial Hospital. She's in charge of oncology at Tata Oncology, and it's somebody who just walk into any time, anywhere, and or pick up the phone, and she's there with the. You can see the smile even on the telephone, which is really fantastic. The way she talks and way she does. And one more thing she's handling nowadays, along with all her responsibility, is the COVID war room, which has been set up at Tata Memorial Hospital. So big warm welcome, Dr. Manju. I would like to start asking you the questions, which would be related to CML. And maybe I'll just give you a list of topics that you can cover. CML, COVID, and your war room activities. And one thing which is of concern to all of us, that all you doctors are in the hospital along with the patients. How are you managing to keep yourself sane? And how are you managing to keep yourself safe? I know it's a lot of work. A few days that I was in the hospital, I saw the challenge that everybody was facing. And now it has, I'm sure it's grown much more. And so you are having a lot of anxious moments. So to you, Dr. Sengar.
Thank you, Vandana. Thanks, Vijay. They were really kind words. I don't think I deserve those many from you. So we'll take one by one, and I think we'll first start with CML, something which is close to my heart. So that's why I happily picked up CML and move on to COVID and little depressing things. So I'm sure some of you are already on treatment. Some of you know things about CML. Some of you have heard about it, or somebody, some of you might have started just, very recently the treatment. So just a brief idea of what chronic myeloid leukemia or CML is. So in our cells, in our body, the cells are well programmed and they're supposed to divide for a certain number in their lifespan and then die. But then there is something which goes wrong within their machinery, and therefore they keep on dividing, producing a lot of daughter cells, what we call, and they don't die on time. And this results in cancer. So something going wrong with the machinery is responsible for cancer. CML is one of the cancer. And the good part about CML is that we know what has gone wrong with the machinery. And that's what we call selective clonation. So there is a chromosome 9 and there is chromosome 22, and there is some bit of exchange of material between these two chromosomes, which results in this machinery going wrong. And therefore, the cells keep on dividing. And the primary defect here, the primary problem here lies within the bone marrow. And we all know that bone marrow is something which is a pulp-like thing within our bones. which is responsible for production of all the kinds of blood cells which we have in our body, whether it's red blood cells, white blood cells, which fight infection, the platelets, which help in clotting. So these are the different, blood cells which are there in the body. When the problem develops in the machinery within few cells with this Philadelphia chromosome, these cells become more and more in number. So your WBC goes up, your platelets go up, sometimes even the hemoglobin is high. In some individuals, the hemoglobin is low. And that's what is chronic myeloid leukemia. What it leads to, because, our body is capable of producing finite number of cells. When there is too much of production of these cells, the normal nutrition which other cells need gets eaten up by these, cancer cells, and people start feeling weak. They may start feeling, less and less appetite, because all these abnormal blood cells get accumulated in the spleen, which is another structure present in our tummy. And when the spleen becomes big, people, start eating less and less. They eat very little amount and they start feeling full. So all these are symptoms, and anyone would wonder that these are such non-specific symptoms that we get these symptoms every now and then, even otherwise. But if you have these symptoms consistently, then in that case, investigations are needed. And with the help of blood tests and the bone marrow examination, the diagnosis of CML can be made. Things have become very well standardized as to how to diagnose chronic myeloid leukemia. And then the treatment is even more simple. I must say simple because it's a single tablet which needs to be taken every day. And it's a tablet which is relatively well tolerated. We call this as imatinib. Now we have several other options also for, especially if you're not able to tolerate imatinib or if you're not able to respond to imatinib. Then in that case, you have options like nilotinib, dasatinib, these are other options. But still, imatinib has stood the test of time and it remains one of the most widely prescribed drug for CML. So that is more about CML. Am I audible, Vandana?
Yeah,
Yes,
you are audible.
Okay.
Absolutely, Dr. Manju. Thank you so much. We, as you know, we also have, because of imatinib, we may call them strange bedfellows, but we have just patients also in our group. And I only want to add to Vandana's welcome and thank you so much. Dr. Manju Sengar is no stranger to the Friends of Max family of thousands and thousands of patients. You yourself have, I think, the maximum number of patients are treated by you, and you have been, one of our staunch supporters and favorite physician partner in all our meetings, and so we're really happy to have you here. If you can just give a little introduction to GIST also, and then we can start with the question answer session. And
Sure.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Vandana ji, Dr. Manju, and Pramod, and all of the group. And of course, a special thanks to Guru Sharan. Yes, our volunteer from VCare, who's our techno guru. Okay, yeah, and a big thanks. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Manju.
Thanks, Vijay. Though I have stopped speaking just for several years now, but it's very similar as you rightly pointed out that the connection which I still have with GIST is imatinib. So, so that's something which I must talk about. So GIST is something, again, what I would say, it's again, as the name suggests, gastrointestinal stromal tumor. So that's GIST is the short form for this. So it's a tumor, again, the same principle what we were just talking about CML, roughly same principles, meaning the cells keep on growing and accumulating, fail to die. And this, instead of happening in the bone marrow, which was happening in CML, this happens in the gastrointestinal tract, meaning in your intestines. That's where sometimes in the stomach, these tumors develop. And the symptoms again here, because it's again something to do with your, the entire intestine, anywhere the tumor can arise, the symptoms are dependent on that. Again, as we said in CML, people can start feeling full after eating a very little amount of food. They can get pain in the stomach, they can get vomiting, they can have sometimes blood in the vomiting or in the stools. They can have weight loss. So these are the common symptoms which we get to see in GIST. Again, it depends here, as opposed to CML where the treatment is only, tablets. And just if your tumor is detected early, you can have surgery done. The tumor can be resected either by open surgery or by laparoscopic surgery. If the tumor is big and you've done surgery, you can take after that imatinib in some individuals. If your tumor is unresectable, meaning somebody can't remove the tumor by surgery, in that case also, again, the tablets can be given. Sometimes the disease comes from the beginning itself, that it is spread to multiple parts. So it can be in the lymph nodes, it can be in the liver. And in that situation, surgery becomes difficult. And here the treatment is the tablets, and that tablet is imatinib. There are other options which have come up in patients who fail to respond to imatinib, and that's sunitinib. So that's something which can be considered if their response to imatinib is not there, or somebody is not able to tolerate imatinib. So this is pretty much about GIST. So for both the diseases, what's important that it's treatable, it's compatible with very, very long life. If you talk about chronic myeloid leukemia, in fact, when we talk to patients now, we tell them that its name is cancer, but it's not a cancer. If you fall in that 60 out of 100 where disease shows fantastic response to imatinib, your lifespan is going to be like anyone of your age. So it's like a chronic disease like diabetes, hypertension. But the bottom line is that you need to continue taking your medicines regularly. Same way for GIST also, if the tumor is resectable or if you have advanced stage disease, imatinib is associated with very, very long life. So nothing to worry, take your medicines daily. Vijay, over to you.
Thank you. One of the most frequent questions that is asked, especially these days, is cancer being a comorbidity. So there are a lot of questions which have come to us because patients and caregivers are very concerned कि ये जो कोविड के टाइम है, वायरस के टाइम पे, is it really a fact that as patients we are high risk, CML patients and GIST patients we high risk. So there are quite a few questions that are there on this. I will ask Pramod to start with the first question. What we did was, Dr. Manju, we asked our patients and caregivers to send in their questions, so we have a list compiled. So Pramod, will you start off with the COVID related questions? Pramod, you have to unmute yourself. Pramod, unmute yourself, Pramod. Pramod, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. There, fine.
Okay. Good afternoon, doctor.
Hi.
Yeah. So everyone is talking about immunity in this time. So all are more curious how we as a CML and GIST survivor can we improve our immunity, because that's the primary thing that they are facing as an hindrance. They're hearing everywhere that immunity बढ़ाना है, लेकिन ये बढ़ाए कैसे immunity, ये इनको बता दीजिए.
तो पहला जो विजी ने बोला कि सबको डर है कि हमको कैंसर है और उसकी वजह से हमारा कोरोना आने का चांस ज़्यादा है और कोरोना के कॉम्प्लिकेशन होने का चांस ज़्यादा है. तो ये सब कुछ शुरू हुआ चाइना से, when the initial data came from China, and they said that patients with cancer, even those who have cancer diagnosis now, और even जो पहले जिनको हो चुका है, जो survivors हैं, उनमें कोरोना की रिस्क ज़्यादा है, कॉम्प्लिकेशन का रिस्क ज़्यादा है, as well as कोरोना होने का चांस ज़्यादा है. पर वो सारा डेटा 18 पेशेंट्स के ऊपर बना हुआ डेटा था, तो उसमें नंबर बहुत कम है. हम बोलेंगे 18 पेशेंट्स के बेसिस पे कंक्लूजन देने के लिए, पर फिर भी वो बोलने के बाद भी हम ये जिनको कैंसर है उनको थोड़ा ज़्यादा केयर से देखते हैं. पर यहाँ CML और GIST एक एक्सेप्शन है. हमने देखा है कि जो CML के मरीज हैं जो दवाइयाँ ले रहे हैं, इमाटिनिब की दवाएं ले रहे हैं, इसी तरीके से जो GIST के पेशेंट्स हैं जो इमाटिनिब ले रहे हैं, वो दोनों में ही ना तो कोरोना होने का चांस ज़्यादा है और ना ही कोरोना के कॉम्प्लिकेशंस होने का चांस ज़्यादा है. तो जितना एक नॉन CML पेशेंट्स में कोरोना का रिस्क है या कोरोना के कॉम्प्लिकेशंस का रिस्क है, उतना ही CML और GIST के मरीजों में है. तो सबसे बड़ी चीज तो ये है कि डरने की कोई भी जरूरत नहीं है। जितना हमको या आपको जो प्रिकॉशंस लेनी है वही उनको भी लेनी है। रही बात इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने की, तो इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने के लिए हमारा जो जो हमारे सभी बड़े लोगों ने अभी तक बताया है वही चीज हमें अभी भी फॉलो करना है। कोई नया तरीका नहीं है। अच्छा खाना, समय पे खाना, एक्सरसाइज करना, यही एक इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने का तरीका है, और कोई भी इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने का नया तरीका नहीं आया है। सो वील हैव टू फॉलो दैट, and very importantly continue taking your medicine, because your disease has to be under control, and that's in a patient who has cancer. Controlled disease is something which is going to bring up the immunity. So especially for CML.
Okay.
So that's really good to know, Dr. Manju. What you said, I'll just paraphrase it in English. What you have said is that especially specifically for CML and for these patients, it is not necessary that they are in some extra vulnerable to the infection, and also that nourishment and eating proper diet is important to keep yourself in the comfort zone. Great.
तो एक और चीज उसमें ऐड करना चाहूंगी जो कि सिर्फ कैंसर के लिए नहीं, इवन अदरवाइज कोरोना के लिए है, कि जिनमें देखा गया है विटामिन डी की कमी है, उनमें कोरोना के कॉम्प्लिकेशंस का चांस ज्यादा होता है। विटामिन डी इजीली अवेलेबल है, हम सब आराम से ले सकते हैं, उसके लिए किसी हॉस्पिटल जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। वो एक, अगर आप विटामिन डी डेफिशिएंट हैं, जिसमें इफ यू हैव डेफिशिएंसी अर्लियर, then you can continue taking vitamin D supplement. A lot of us are, because we don't go out in sun.
True.
Okay. Agla question mera aisa mein I'll relay connect two questions together. Couple of people had this query: if diagnosed with COVID-19, should I continue with imatinib or no? And there has been talks wherein in AIMS they were looking at administering Gleevec as a potential drug for COVID. तो ये दोनों चीज से हमें खुश होना है, या what is the thing that you have for us there?
So if you look at it, the AIM study is based on one of the very early early preclinical data, meaning something which was done in lab, and they saw that other SARS infection which happened in 2002 and 2003, imatinib could inhibit, entry of this virus into the cells, and therefore they presume that it's going to be effective even in the SARS coronavirus 2, which is currently, we are experiencing in 2019 and 2020. So that's the basis of AIM starting that study, that it worked at least in the dishes, not in the human being, for the SARS coronavirus 1, so it may be effective. And I don't think it's a bad idea, because simply we don't have many drugs available now. Everything whatever is there is all in clinical trials. So इसलिए ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी हो जाता है कि कुछ नया ट्रीटमेंट, स्पेशली जिसके बारे में हमें ऑलरेडी बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सपीरियंस है इतने CML और जिसके मरीजों को ट्रीट करने के बाद, ये ड्रग सेफ है, इससे कोई लॉन्ग टर्म कॉम्प्लिकेशंस नहीं होती, जरूर इसको इस्तेमाल करना। और ये अच्छी चीज़ है कि हमने इंडिया में ट्रायल शुरू किया। दूसरा सवाल जो उससे आपका लिंक था कि लेना चाहिए इमाटिनिब, कोरोना वायरस अगर हो गया है, कोई कोविड पॉजिटिव आ गया है, तो बिल्कुल लेना चाहिए। आप कंटिन्यू करिए इमाटिनिब को, इससे कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं होने वाला। अगर ये ड्रग सच में कोरोना वायरस के अगेंस्ट इफेक्टिव है, तो बेस्ट होएगा कि आपका इन्फेक्शन शायद जल्दी कंट्रोल में आ जाए। तो एक साइड इफेक्ट है इमाटिनिब का कंटिन्यू करने का।
So there is a thing that we can be happy with, and probably we continue doing taking all the necessary precautions that we are doing right now as a CML patient, and follow all the guidelines that we have been hearing to ensure that we improve our immunity this way. Okay.
So Dr. Manju, there is a question which says, my PCR-able test is due. Is it important to do it in these times, or should I wait till things calm down?
This all depends on what was your last BCR-ABL. If your last BCR-ABL was good, and by good I mean depending on where you are in therapy, if your value was satisfactory, then you can safely delay visiting hospital, because it's not the CML which is going to cause problem. It's the hospital visit which may, make you prone for acquiring or catching the coronavirus infection. So what we suggest that if you were, if you're doing fine and your doctor at last visit has said that your, values are within acceptable range, please do not go to the hospital. Please do not call a lab person home for getting the BCR-ABL done. You can easily wait for another 3 months, I would say, before getting your repeat BCR-ABL done. But what is very important is not to stop your medication. At the same time, if your last BCR-ABL was something which was worrisome as per your doctor, and it's best that you speak to your doctor, and if they say that it was worrisome, and if they feel that it needs to be repeated, then please repeat it. But I'm sure that it will be a very exceptional circumstance, when a doctor will say, as of now, please go to a hospital and get a BCR-ABL done. So it's definitely not needed. So I can safely say, hold on for next 3 months before going to the hospital for getting BCR-ABL.
So ये तो डॉक्टर मंजू ने दूसरा जो सवाल है उसका भी जवाब इसी में दे दिया है कि is it safe to go to my oncologist in the hospital or should I consult over phone or email? तो ये तो डॉक्टर साहब ने अच्छे से जवाब दे दिया है कि इतनी परेशान होने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. अगर आपका BCR-ABL रिपोर्ट पहले वाला जो है सब कंट्रोल में है तो भाग दौड़ करके इस पैंडेमिक के बीच में हॉस्पिटल जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. और yes, Dr. Manju.
I'll just tell you that coronavirus has taught us that we can follow up 90% of CML patients over video call and phone call, even post-corona era.
Actually, here I would like to, place on record Dr. Manju Sengar and her team in Tata Hospital, both in Parel and in Kharghar, Swapnil, Neha, everybody, they have been so helpful, saving a patient, the trip to the hospital from their distant villages. हमारे इतने सारे patients इतने दूर रहते हैं और उनको यहाँ आने में इतनी तकलीफ होती है. So, because of a fabulous system where the email, the prescription is sent to us, through technical means electronically. And of course, from the Max Foundation, we are also, making arrangements. Suppose there is a patient who comes, from Bihar to Tata, and then he collects his medicine from Bombay, or he comes from Orissa, or he comes from West Bengal, or he comes from Guwahati, or he comes from, Jaipur. What we are doing is we are making sure, thanks to your team and, really your clinical coordinators, and we are making arrangements that medicine goes to the outlet closest to them so that they are completely saved this trip to Bombay and they get their prescription and they go and collect their medication also. And Dr. Manju, thanks to the example you have set up, this is happening in all the hospitals, all the doctors. We use the Tata model as our example. And from all our physicians, from all the hospitals, we are able to get electronic prescriptions for our patients. And that is something which has really been very, 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 I really don't know मैं क्या बताऊं, बहुत ही सबको बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. And that's been something really good.
We're really thankful to even Max Foundation for making sure that the medicines are available closer home. So, because, as you rightly pointed out, most of our patients are staying at really remote places and it's very difficult to, reach to those areas. We are really thankful because, when this entire thing started, we just took a stock of how many people are outside and we were really worried that how are we going to maintain this compliance? How things will change over next 4 months time period. Everyone will come back with their full-blown disease. So it was really concerning, and especially for disease where we know that we are making a difference. It was a big concern at that time. So thanks to Max Foundation.
No, यहाँ पे ना, I would like to ask Vandana ji also, to share with us, because we work primarily with CML and with GIST patients. Dr. Manju and Vandana ji, you are working, with patients, all kinds of other cancers. Most of these patients are physically also more vulnerable. Their strength is also depleted. And Vandana ji works right there in the hospital. Vandana ji, आपकी क्या experience हुई है during these last 3 months? What are groups? What are you doing? And how are you working in tandem with the doctors in Tata Hospital, making things as easy as possible for the patients?
see, for the last, since the 22nd of March, we have also stopped going to the hospital because it was only going to add to the people coming inside, and there had to be a restriction on the number of people who were coming in. So on the project that we are working with Pfizer, where drugs are given for kidney cancers, advanced kidney cancers, and breast cancer and other cancers. We get the doctors supported by giving them the prescriptions, and we were able to send out the medicine. It did take a little longer than what we thought it would take, but at least the medicines have been received. The fact that the second round of applications have come in, which shows that the first round has been done. Then the doctors were extremely good in keeping, they kept certain checks with the amounts pre-written on it. And if there was a patient who needed financial support, then the doctors were giving them the money so that the treatment would not stop. The idea always was that the treatment should not stop, whether it was lack of money, whether it was, they're not finding accommodation or food or something. So all these factors were to be taken care of while it was going. And it was just not us because we were not physically present there, but the doctors, the social workers, everybody supported, and we all worked as a team to be able to do that.
I think that is a key word, Dr. Manju, which Vandana ji has said, working as a team. We've really seen how that is so important. Actually, there is another question which is somewhat similar to what Dr. Manju already said. Injectable chemotherapy patients are considered ones as immunocompromised. What is your view on patients on TKIs? During a conversation I was having with the patient leaders, when Nirmesh had asked me, isn't CML and isn't CML a comorbidity? So, in my mind, I'm not a doctor, but in my mind was, no, you're on TKI. Your levels, your BCR-ABL reports are fine. So that means there is no presence of the disease. So maybe, you are not, it is not a comorbidity. So can you, little bit of clarification on that one, Dr. Manju?
So as I was just, talking to Pramod when Pramod was mentioning the same thing. So we actually don't think that CML, though being a cancer, it's not really a comorbidity. Because simple reason that it's the drug which, if the disease is under control and the drug which you're getting is not something which is immunosuppressive, then it's not considered as comorbidity. As opposed to that, if you look at other malignancies, especially those malignancies which are advanced, uncontrolled, same way if you have, like blood cancers like acute leukemia, if you have, lymphomas, they are a little difficult in this, current times to treat. But as opposed to that, CML is not. In fact, more than that, if you're old, if you're more than 65 years, that is considered as a higher risk. If you get corona, and if because you're going to be at high risk of complications. So diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes is considered as comorbidity here, making you prone for developing complications if you acquire corona, but not CML, not GIST.
Okay, Pramod, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Manju, we were just in the season where there is a lot of COVID cases. I suppose who was watching us would be more interested in checking out the data from your end. Tata Hospital has most number of patients and you are attending to. Have you come across any CML patient who has been diagnosed with COVID? And if so, what was the line of treatment and things?
Amongst all this, so we have quite a few number of COVID cancers, whom we have admitted in the hospital. And out of close to 300 plus patients, what we have seen, there's only one CML who got corona. So considering that we see so many CMLs, this number seems less. That's one point. The second point, we continued therapy throughout. We did not stop therapy. And that person went home on day 14 because 14 days is mandatory period when we keep them in hospital. And when the test becomes negative twice, then we discharge them. And he continued to remain practically with some few days of fever and cough, and he settled down with that. So there wasn't anything major.
Much complication.
Yeah. Dr. Manju, when are we expecting the results from the AIMS trial to come out? Because everybody is so excited about it,
I think it will take at least for their initial results to come at least 2 months based on how the enrollment goes in, the number of patients they are able to enroll. So it will take at least 2 months to come from the start of trial.
And Dr. Manju, there is a question. Can you talk about the life cycle of COVID-19 virus? Does it have a specific lifespan? The reason our patient is asking this is, in some places across the world where the lockdown opened, like the US, and of course in some of our cities here, they remained, they weren't spike in cases. Instead, they remained the same or went down. Does this indicate the lifespan of the virus? This is not my question. This has come to us. I'm a little wary about this. There weren't any spike in cases. Instead, they remained same or went down. But the question is, does this indicate the lifespan of the virus?
So actually, what everyone, if you look at the epidemiologists and virologists, what they are talking, that this virus is going to remain with us for a few years now. Like how we see for SARS coronavirus 1 and MERS when it came, there are still cases of MERS which are happening in pockets. So it's not that the virus is going to die down. What happens over a period of time that, X proportion of people get infected and they develop immunity, and therefore the proportion who's going to get infected down the line may come down, but there is a big may there. So it's not that it is an absolute thing. So in fact, I am not sure where this data is coming from, that they did not see the spike, after the lockdown opens. Most of the places started seeing a second surge. Even when they opened the lockdown, actually the cases were on the decline. When they reopened the lockdown, they saw a surge sometime down the line. So it's not that, we have to think that only this 41, 49, 60 days is going to be the period when the virus will remain and then it will disappear. What it allows us, that the number of people getting infected at one given point of time are less. So you're able to handle those cases as opposed to a sudden surge if you were, roaming around and you were all together. So that's something which is, it gives us time to prepare. The lockdown gave us time to prepare. It reduced the frequency at which people were getting infected. But it's not that the virus is going to die down during that period. So we have to remain careful, and we have to remain careful. Probably our lifestyle is going to remain like this for next 1 year, if not more.
Okay, doctor. Yeah, I got a question this morning from one of our survivors. उनका कहना है कि उनको आंखों के ऊपर काफी सूजन दिख रही है, तो क्या करना चाहिए वो पूछ रहे हैं.
This is imatinib, which is causing swelling over the eyes. So imatinib की वजह से हमको सबको पता है कि सूजन आती है. किसी को पूरे चेहरे पे आती है, किसी को सिर्फ आंखों के चारों तरफ, किसी को पैरों पे आती है. तो इसके लिए सबसे पहली चीज हम बोलते हैं कि खाने में थोड़ा नमक कम कर दें. तो कई लोग जिनको इमेटिनिब की वजह से ये सूजन हो रही है वो कम हो जाती है. दूसरा तरीका होता है कि ये एक्चुअली एक तरीके का डिपेंडेंट इडिमा होता है. तो आप थोड़ा सा पिलो, थोड़ा ऊंचा पिलो लगा के सोएंगे तो भी ये इडिमा थोड़ा कम पता चलेगा. सो ये 2-3 चीजें हैं जो कर सकते हैं. बाकी हमारे एज ओल्ड जो ये है ना सारे तरीके होते हैं कि सुबह उठ करके अगर बहुत सूजन दिख रही है तो थोड़ा ठंडा पानी से आंख धो ले या आइस इस्तेमाल कर ले. एंड आई थिंक विजी विल नो दैट बेटर रादर देन मी. सारी चीजें जो है वो हेल्प करती है अपीयरेंस. और जैसे जैसे एक्चुअली दिन बढ़ता जाता है वो सूजन धीरे धीरे कम होती भी जाती है. बहुत चिंता का जरूरत है क्योंकि उससे आँख की रोशनी पे कोई असर नहीं आएगा. उससे ना ही आगे जाके आपको आंखों पे कोई तकलीफ होने वाली है. तो ये एक ऐसा साइड इफेक्ट है जो कुछ लोगों में हम ज्यादा देखते हैं इमेटिनिब में एज कम्पेयर टू अदर्स हु डू नॉट एक्सपीरियंस लॉट ऑफ इडिमा. बट अगर फिर भी ये सब कुछ करने के बाद भी आपको बहुत तकलीफ दे रहा है कि सुबह आंखें खोलने में भी मुश्किल आती है तो आप डॉक्टर से बात करिए. वो एक स्मॉल डोज डायरेटिक का लिख के देंगे जो आप हफ्ते में एक बार भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं या 2 हफ्ते में एक बार इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. तो उसमें थोड़ा सूजन कम हो जाएगी. बट हर एक डायरेटिक्स का जरूरत नहीं पड़ता है. वो बहुत एक्सट्रीम केसेस में ही लेने की जरूरत है.
डॉक्टर, in case of corona there are so many posts that tell us to take different medicines, home remedies. बहुत सारे सब डॉक्टर्स हो गए. How do they react with Gleevec or
तो जब हम बोलते हैं ना जब इलाज नहीं पता होता है तो बहुत सारे इलाज आ जाते हैं. हर कोई डॉक्टर बन जाता है और हर कोई अपनी एक सलाह देने लगता है. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली कोरोना में भी वही हुआ है. हल्दी दूध से लेकर के पता नहीं क्या क्या तरीके के इलाज आ गए हैं. सिर्फ एक डर है कि थोड़े दिनों में गोमूत्र भी नहीं आ जाना चाहिए इसमें. तो ऐसा है कि कोई भी ऐसा इलाज नहीं है. पर कहने का बात है कि ज्यादातर लोगों को सर्दी खांसी या गले में खराश वगैरह हो सकती है तो उसमें हम बोलते हैं कि गर्म पानी या गरारे करेंगे तो थोड़ा अच्छा लगेगा. बट दैट्स लाइक एनी अदर नॉर्मल कफ एंड कोल्ड. देयर इज नथिंग वेरी स्पेसिफिक टू कोरोना. Gleevec is something we don't have results from AIM study. So till then, continue taking Gleevec for only CML and GIST, not for corona. So don't go off label and start buying Gleevec for corona. Leave it for our CML patients and GIST patients.
That is very wise advice, Dr. Manju. Dr. Manju, it is another question. It has been a while since some doctors have recommended their patients in India to stop Gleevec. This is, of course, treatment-free remission, TFR. Has there been any discussions amongst amongst the physicians on what has been the experience of these patients? And somebody has also referred to the same person who has asked this question on various forums. I have heard of such research done in France. That study where 60% there was a 40% of 40%, 60% jo tha. And what is the collective opinion of treating physicians in India, and what has been their patient experience?
So see, TFR is something which works, but it works with very stringent monitoring. So कहने का मतलब ये है कि TFR के लिए बहुत carefully patient select करना होता है, जो कि हम बोलते हैं लगभग 5 से 6 साल तक इमैटिनिब या दूसरी जो CML की दवाइयां हैं वो ले रहे हैं. कम से कम पिछले 3 साल तक उनका जो BCR-ABL है वो बहुत ही लो वैल्यू में आ रहा है, जिसको हमारे शब्दों में बोलते हैं डीप मॉलिक्यूलर रिस्पॉन्स है. और अगर हम बोलें उन पेशेंट्स को कि दवा और उनका शुरू का CML एडवांस स्टेज का CML नहीं है, अर्ली स्टेज का CML है, जिसको हम क्रॉनिक फेज बताते हैं. ये सेट पेशेंट्स का हम इसमें TFR की कोशिश कर सकते हैं, पर ये जरूरी नहीं है कि सब में TFR करना ही है इसमें, क्योंकि उसका कारण ये है कि हर महीने फिर हमको BCR-ABL करना है. किसी भी समय लगता है कि BCR-ABL बढ़ना शुरू हो गया तो दोबारा से दवाई इंट्रोड्यूस करनी है. तो अगर हम बोलेंगे आज की तारीख में कि हम किस में TFR करते हैं, वो TFR अगर हमारे यहाँ कोई क्लिनिकल ट्रायल चल रहा है तो उसमें TFR की बात करते हैं, ट्रीटमेंट फ्री रेमिशन की बात करते हैं, या फिर हम बोलते हैं कि जो पेशेंट्स बहुत कंप्लायंट हैं, जो हमें लगा कि अभी तक हम उनको बोले आज 2 सितंबर शनिवार या इतवार जिस दिन भी हमने बुलाया उस दिन वो आ जाने वाले तरीके के पेशेंट्स हैं, तो वहाँ पर TFR का कोशिश कर सकते हैं, प्रोवाइडेड वो ये सारे क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल करते हैं. क्योंकि जितने भी लोगों में हम TFR की कोशिश करते हैं, अगर आज मान लीजिए 100 में TFR की कोशिश करी जो ये सब क्राइटेरिया फिट करते हैं, तो उसमें से केवल हम 40 के अंदर सक्सेस पाते हैं, बाकियों में बीमारी बढ़ने लगती है और हमको दोबारा दवाई शुरू करनी है. तो ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है, लेकिन ये चीज दोनों पक्षों को, मतलब डॉक्टर्स एज वेल एज पेशेंट्स, बोथ नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट इन्वॉल्व्स अ लॉट ऑफ कमिटमेंट फ्रॉम बोथ साइड्स to make sure that you follow a particular schedule, you do your test properly, and then we need to see that you are ready to go back to your treatment whenever the disease starts showing the signs of recurrence. So it shouldn't be that now you've become used to not taking treatment even if your BCR-ABL is rising and you don't want to go back to that. That's not right. So it is something which needs a lot of discussion and commitment from both sides.
Doctor, now that you're talking about TFR, I'm off the drug, I'm on TFR, and then there are symptoms that are coming in back again. What is your experience that Gleevec has started working properly in the patient after that, after a gap of some time when it's relapsing?
Correct. So both the things. So first, we will again get the BCR-ABL done to see whether it's declining, because BCR-ABL had risen, and that's the reason why we had restarted the imatinib. And now, once we again monitor BCR-ABL and the BCR-ABL has started declining, that again shows that the disease is coming under control. As well as a lot of time in the beginning of TFR, a lot of people get myalgias, headache, body aches, all those things come up. As you start the medication, all those symptoms start, going down again.
So all the patients, those who are on Gleevec, who are out of Gleevec, have come back to Gleevec or second line after that?
Actually, that's the reason why monitoring and close monitoring is important. It's not that you need to change your drug to second line. You continue to show response with the same medicine again. So you don't need to change the drug. So that's the reason why the TFR is right. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. As a newly diagnosed CML patient, I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. Now, in present scenario, I have to worry about COVID-19 also. Dr. Manju, how do I keep a positive frame of mind?
So what I would suggest, what I started saying in the beginning, that there is a very high likelihood that your disease is going to come under control within a few weeks. And if you continue taking your medicine, there is 60% chance that you're going to remain, like any of your peers who are of your age. So that is what you need to aim. You don't need to look short term. You need to look long term, and you need to keep planning. You need to keep planning for future. And that's a very high likelihood that it's just like any other diabetes, hypertension, that this disease is going. Yeah. So just think that though it is named cancer, but it's like a chronic disease for which you need to continue taking medicine, and it's in a very short time frame. All your symptoms are going to go away and your disease is going to come under control. So first sign is the next CBC which you will do, and you will see your counts dropping. That will give you the first sign of hope. And then your spleen is going to start shrinking, and then your BCR-ABL is going to be better. So it's just a matter of time. And I think the best forum to give hope is all of you. You have to, show your example that this is where we are. So I think that's going to, make all.
Yeah. So, Dr. Manju, first of all, I want to thank all our all those who have been sending questions. Subhash Jain, Rajiv Kumar from Guwahati, Sukanya Lal from Singapore. Then we have Vaman Joshi from Bombay. We have Param from Bangalore. We have Suresh Pawar from Bombay. Then we have Rashmi Parekh from Bombay. Thanks everybody. Nirmesh, thanks so much for sending us these questions and keeping this so alive. One question is also, is the treatment of corona antibiotic? Can antibiotic treatment for coronavirus, can that medication conflict with Gleevec? And another question on treatment. So Manju, Dr. Manju, you can combine both. The standard therapy of HCQ or erythromycin, does it have any side effects along with imatinib for COVID?
So I'll take the first question. See, there is no standard treatment for corona. It's not that corona is treatable by any antibiotic or any antiviral as of now. All the drugs currently are in clinical trials. So there is nothing which is of proven benefit in coronavirus as of now. So everyone has to just, listen to their doctors, don't start self-treating, and they will tell you what is needed. Sometimes the antibiotics are prescribed because you may have another infection on top of corona, so which may need antibiotic, but corona does not get treated by any antibiotic. So that's one thing, and therefore the risk of interaction with Gleevec is not going to be there. And your doctor who's prescribing you the medication will look at any potential interaction and then only decide whether a drug is safe for you or not. So that's the first thing. Coming on to the second thing, HCQS and azithromycin have been beaten quite a bit since the time the corona has started. They are not standard of care. It's again your doctor who's going to take a decision whether they practice HCQ and azithromycin or not. At our center, we do not use HCQS or azithromycin or combination of this for anyone. Leave aside CML, we don't use it for anyone because it's not proven in clinical trial that this combination works. So there were some early reports which suggested that it is helpful, but there is no large clinical trial which suggests benefit of it, and therefore we do not use. And each of these drugs have, even without Gleevec, have the issues in terms of side effects, especially cardiac side effects. So therefore we do not recommend it. And any other drug which your doctor is going to prescribe, it's very important that you tell your doctor that you are on imatinib. There are, fair amount of data available of drug interactions with Gleevec. They will check that and then they will prescribe the medicine if in case you need any other drug.
Dr. Manju, can I trouble you? ये O positive blood group अगर है तो कोरोना का रिस्क कम है क्या, एक सवाल आया है.
Sure. So there is some recent data coming saying that certain blood groups you may have higher risk of complications, and that's an A positive blood group. But the data to contrary that if I am B positive I have a lesser risk is not there.
और डायबिटीज अगर हो, CML के साथ डायबिटीज हो तो वो एक्स्ट्रा वल्नरेबल हो जाते हैं क्या?
तो उनकी वल्नरेबिलिटी डायबिटीज की वजह से है, CML की वजह से नहीं है। सो वो एक्स्ट्रा नहीं वल्नरेबल, पर वो उतने ही वल्नरेबल हैं जितना कि कोई डायबिटीज का पेशेंट वल्नरेबल होएगा, उतना ही CML विद डायबिटीज हैज द सेम अमाउंट ऑफ वल्नरेबिलिटी। तो इसीलिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि डायबिटीज भी कंट्रोल होना उतना ही जरूरी है जितना कि CML कंट्रोल होना।
और डॉक्टर मंजू, थोड़े ऐसे सवाल आए हैं जो थोड़े मतलब पर्सनल इंडिविजुअल पेशेंट्स के इंडिविजुअल क्वेश्चंस हैं, तो हमारे पास थोड़ा टाइम है, तो मैं सोच रही हूँ कि जिन्होंने वो सवाल नहीं पूछा उनके लिए भी ये फायदा होगा। एक तो ये है जो प्रमोद नौली पूछा, ये जो सूजन हो जाता है, और दूसरा ये एक पेशेंट ने हमें लिख के पूछा है कि घुटनों के नीचे पैरों में बहुत दर्द होता है, ये ग्लिवेक के कारण है क्या, क्या कर सकते हैं इसके लिए? और दूसरे पेशेंट ने ये भी कहा है कि वो डायबिटिक हैं, पहले उनको बहुत वीकनेस हुआ करता था तो वो थोड़ी आराम करती थी तो ठीक हो जाता था, लेकिन आजकल ये वीकनेस की जो सेंसेशन है वो बढ़ता जा रहा है।
So ये
So this is connected with that question, diabetes, CML, both together.
तो जो पैर में दर्द हो रहा है वो मोस्ट लाइकली जो दवा खा रहे हैं आप CML के लिए इमैटिनिब, उसकी वजह से। खास तौर से बहुत सारे लोगों में जब दवा वो शुरू करते हैं इमैटिनिब का, शुरुआत के कुछ महीनों में ये तकलीफ ज़्यादा होती है, जोड़ों में दर्द होना, पैरों में दर्द होना, ये कुछ लोगों में शुरू में ज़्यादा होती है, कुछ लोगों में आगे भी जाकर के होता रहता है। तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में हम दो चीज़ों की सलाह देते हैं। अगर आप शुरुआत किया है आपने दवाई और उस समय दर्द हो रहा है तो अपने डॉक्टर को मिले, तो वो थोड़ा कुछ या मिले या फ़ोन पे बात करें, इस समय मिले नहीं। अगर वो आपको कुछ दर्द का दवाई देंगे, कुछ एनाल्जेसिक जो उसमें मदद करते हैं, लंबे टाइम के लिए नहीं, शॉर्ट पीरियड के लिए, 4-5 दिन के लिए। दूसरा होता है कैल्शियम, कैल्शियम भी इसमें मदद करता है। तीसरा, हमारी पॉपुलेशन में जैसे मैंने बताया, देयर इज़ अ वेरी हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ विटामिन डी डेफिशिएंसी। तो ये तीनों जो करेक्टेबल फैक्टर्स हैं वो ज़रूर से देखना है, कैल्शियम लेना, विटामिन डी लेना, और ये जो बताया कि ये शुरुआत के फेज़ में एनाल्जेसिक का भी जो है थोड़ा फ़ायदा मिल सकता है। प्लस कई बार बहुत जॉइंट स्टिफनेस होती है, क्योंकि जो सूजन जैसे आँख पे हो रही है वैसे ही जॉइंट के चारों तरफ भी सूजन होती है जो बहुत ऑब्वियस नहीं होती। तो थोड़ा स्ट्रेचिंग, जो हम बोलते हैं मूवमेंट करना, जॉइंट का मूवमेंट करना, उससे भी आता है, स्पेशली अगर जॉइंट स्टिफनेस जैसा ज़्यादा फीलिंग आ रहा है तो। कमिंग टू दी सेकंड क्वेश्चन रिगार्डिंग वीकनेस एंड डायबिटीज, अगेन दो चीज़ें देखनी ज़रूरी है कि एक तो शुगर कंट्रोल है या नहीं, क्योंकि कई बार अनकंट्रोल्ड शुगर की वजह से भी वीकनेस बढ़ती चली जाती है, तो वो ज़रूर से देखना है पहला चीज़। अगर शुगर कंट्रोल में दिखाई दे रही है तो सेकंड होता है कि कई बार डायबिटीज़ में दवाई जो हम मेटफॉर्मिन इस्तेमाल करते हैं उसकी वजह से B12 की कमी हो जाती है। इमैटिनिब लेते हुए मरीजों में भी हमने कई बार देखा है कि B12 की कमी होती है, तो ये डॉक्टर को बताना है, वो टेस्ट करेंगे B12 आयरन का, अगर उसमें से कोई चीज़ कम है तो वो रिप्लेस करेंगे, उसकी वजह से भी ये जो करेक्टेबल फैक्टर है एटलीस्ट वो वीकनेस हम दूर कर सकते हैं। तो डॉक्टर को बताइए, वो आपको आपका वो केस हिस्ट्री जानते हैं, क्या दवाइयाँ ले रहे हैं, and based on that he or she will be able to suggest you what tests are needed and what drugs are needed.
One last question from me. After that, Vandana ji wants to ask you something. This is from a newly diagnosed CML patient. Is it necessary to keep taking folic acid supplements?
अगर डेफिशिएंसी है, अगर हमने ब्लड टेस्ट किया है और उसके अंदर फोलिक एसिड की मात्रा कम दिख रही है तो लेना ज़रूरी है, पर अदरवाइज हम रूटीनली फोलिक एसिड नहीं देते, क्योंकि कभी-कभी ये हमारा मानना है, हालांकि उसका कोई बहुत बड़ा साइंटिफिक प्रूफ नहीं है, कि ये जो दवाइयाँ जो कि हम बोलते हैं नॉर्मल सेल्स को मदद करती हैं बढ़ने के लिए, वो कई बार कैंसर के सेल्स को भी मदद करती हैं बढ़ने के लिए। अनलेस डेफिशिएंसी नहीं है, डॉक्यूमेंटेड डेफिशिएंसी नहीं है, हम किसी भी तरीके का मल्टीविटामिन या फोलिक एसिड रेगुलरली चालू करने की सलाह नहीं देते हैं।
I'll just come in with one question, a continuation to the TFR that I was asking earlier. I'm a CML patient for more than a decade. I went on TFR, but it did not work. I'm back on medicines now. What is the chances that I will go back to full remission? And second, will the side effects be the same as the first one, or will it be different? क्योंकि साइड इफेक्ट स्टार्टिंग में काफी ज्यादा था।
करेक्ट। तो यूजुअली जो TFR के लिए जाते हैं और अगर हम मॉनिटरिंग में BCR ABL बढ़ता हुआ पाते हैं और शुरू में ही हम दवाई वापस से रीस्टार्ट कर देते हैं, तो I'm 100% sure that वापस से बीमारी control में आ जाएगी आपकी. So that is nothing to worry about. So that's something, if you have followed your doctor's advice, monitored your BCR-ABL properly, and started at the first sign of rise in BCR-ABL, you don't need to worry. The medicine will, work again. As far as side effects are concerned, it's unlikely that you are going to get the side effects what you got in the beginning of, imatinib. But those chronic side effects, which sometimes, remain, which are not quantifiable. Many times you tell your doctor you're feeling weak, but doctor says, oh, your hemoglobin is good. Why are you feeling weak? There is no reason. So there are those unquantifiable side effects may come up as you had in the, during the period when you were taking it.
Vandana ji?
Yeah, what you're saying है एक बात बताइए आजकल I think we have a huge population of people who are diabetic. So whenever they hear that diabetes is not a good thing to have, so whether you are a cancer patient or you are not a cancer patient, so diabetes, controlled diabetes की problem है या uncontrolled diabetes की problem है?
So actually having any illness is not good. But at the same time, if you have controlled, fairly well controlled diabetes, then you don't need to worry. Then you're almost as normal as anyone who does not have diabetes. So it is very important to, it's not that, today morning you see your blood sugar, it's 220 fasting. And then you decide, okay, today I'm not going to eat it. And you see that tomorrow morning's, fasting blood sugar is 99 and you start feeling happy that my sugars are controlled. This is not a controlled sugar. The control meaning that your HbA1c remains well and your readings are continuously coming within the range. That's what is, control. So it cannot be just, 1 or 2 recordings and you start calling it as control. So you have to follow that control stringently. And if you're following that and if your values are within normal range, then you are, probably as good as somebody who does not have that. So that's something which we need to keep in mind.
Okay, so Shashiraj, Nikhil Batra, thank you for your questions. Dr. Manju, patients are still a little stressed. Vijay Kumar, thank you for your question also. During the time of the pandemic, we have already suggested earlier when we started about how it is not absolutely necessary if your previous BCR-ABL report was showed that your counts were under control. You can skip it during this time. Now patients want to know how long it is safe to go without BCR-ABL testing, and is there some long distance remote way of doing these tests, which of course is hopefully maybe we'll come out with something like that, but as of now no. But how long can a CML patient go without BCR-ABL testing? Here I'll also put a caveat here because because of logistical challenges and costs, we know that a lot of our patients do not do their BCR-ABL test for 6 to 8 months also at a time. But this is a repeated question, so I thought I should bring this up with you.
If you look at the international guidelines, they say once in 3 months is what you need to do BCR-ABL, which is not possible for us. So what we do BCR-ABL in somebody where the disease control is, they are not still in deep remission. Deep remission meaning the BCR-ABL values are really, really low. There we do once in 6 months. People who are in deep molecular remission and we are not putting them on any of those treatment-free remission kind of a thing, there we sometimes do BCR-ABL even once in a year. So taking the same analogy here in the current situation, if your BCR-ABL has been good, meaning you were in deep molecular remission, safely you can avoid it doing for next 6 months to a year if this pandemic continues for that long. If your values were on the higher side, if your values are going to be, were borderline, then in that case, my suggestion is wait at least for next 3 to 4 months and then you can send it. There are a lot of labs which are now doing, home collection. So if you're in any of those places where home collection is feasible, maybe after a few months, you can do that. If you're not in that situation that home collection is not feasible, I think in that case, you discuss with your doctor and they will tell you whether it's really absolutely needed to do it. Then, they will tell you what the means are, whether you can collect the samples, send it to a next lab, because there are a lot of, even remote collection centers are now, developed. But at the same time, I would say that don't think it's essential. Don't, put all your money in getting the BCR-ABL done. I would suggest that discuss with your doctor. If you are in deep molecular remission, the doctor himself or herself is going to tell you, just sit tight for next 6 months to a year. Nothing is going to happen. If it was something borderline, they'll tell you the means how you can do the test earlier. Okay. So that's what.
आपने जो कहा कि home collection भी करवा सकते हैं. One of our patients had categorically said, I'm so nervous and so scared about getting someone to come home and collect the sample also. So आपका जो advice है कि don't panic about that just now. Continue taking your medicine. Compliance is most important. Dr. Manju, there's one question from Tamil Nadu. If a CML patient is affected by COVID, should he consult a general doctor or oncologist?
So it depends where he or she is who's developed COVID. If you are close to an oncology facility or you are close to your own oncology, oncologist who's been treating you, consult with him if they have a means of admitting you, because not every hospital is a COVID designate hospital. So if they have a means to admit you, get admitted there. If not, then you can get admitted in any general hospital. As I said, with CML, I'm not worried. If it was some lymphoma who's on chemotherapy and if he or she develops, COVID, then I want him under, a proper hospital where oncologist is also available. But here, I'm not really worried. So you can, depending on what, facilities you have, you can even think of going to a general hospital.
Overall,
yes, Pramod.
Overall, listening to what Dr. Manju had to say, like with the treatment that we are going on, it looks like we are in safe hands. And we just need to ensure that we are taking all the medicines on time. We are compliant as per what we have, guidelines have been given to us. We follow all the protocols related to increasing our immunity, and everything should be fine.
So just to add, Pramod, there, though we are on Gleevec and there is a suggestion that it might be active on SARS-CoV-2, 3 things are still important, which are important for anyone, whether CML, non-CML. Hand hygiene, using the mask, maintaining the distance. So none of us is immune if we don't practice this. So that's something which we need to practice, all of us. The hand hygiene, mask all the time if you're coming in contact with anyone, and maintaining a distance of 6 feet if possible, if not 2 meters, if not at least 1 meter distance. So that's something that is very, very important. And keep in mind, even when you start going to the hospital, there will be people around you. And as I said, that this is going to be the way of life for several months to come. So we need to keep this in mind even later.
So that brings me to one query that patients have, that, we go to the hospital and the doctors are there and they're treating us and all that. And of course, they're concerned for the doctors and they're also concerned for themselves that, interacting with the doctors. How safe is it? Because they are always there with the patients. How do the doctors take care of themselves, and how safe is it for us?
Yeah, Vandana, that is so important. So, Dr. Manju, आपने बहुत अच्छे से बताया ना कि ये जो hand से hygiene, mask and social distancing. एक सवाल था CML patient या जिस patient को इसके अलावा और कुछ भी करना है क्या? But आपने बहुत अच्छे से बताया कि whoever it is, these are very important कि हाथ अपने धोते रहिएगा और social distance 6 फुट, बिल्कुल 2 मीटर 6 फुट के अलग, और मास्क, बाहर आप जाएंगे तो मास्क पहनिएगा. मास्क हाइजीन इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. हम अपने ग्रुप्स में मास्क हाइजीन के बारे में बताते रहते हैं. और मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि हमारे बहुत सारे CML पेशेंट्स हैव लॉग्ड इन, और देयर इज एन अनफेमिलियर नेम आल्सो आस्किंग अ क्वेश्चन. Please explain which count is normal range of PCR report for a CML patient.
तो ये डिपेंड करता है कि आप दवाई कब से लेनी शुरू करी है और आपकी डायग्नोसिस कभी बनी है. तो हम बोलते हैं अगर आप साल भर के अंदर हैं, दवा लेना आपने शुरू साल भर के अंदर किया है, तो 1% से नीचे वैल्यू है, वो हम बोलते हैं रिलेटिवली सेफ जोन है. अच्छा वैल्यू हम मानते हैं कि 0.1% से नीचे होना चाहिए इसका. जैसे जैसे वक्त बीतता जाता है और आप लंबे लंबे समय तक दवाई लेने लगते हैं, तो हम बोलते हैं कि 0.01 या 0.001 जो हम बोलते हैं ना, हम जितना हमको मिलता जाता है हम उतने ग्रीडी होते जाते हैं। उतना जैसे जैसे जितना जितना वैल्यू डीप डाउन नीचे चलता चला जाता है, उतना हम खुश होते हैं। और ये अगर वैल्यू इतना डीप लोअर लेवल काफी समय तक मेंटेन रहता है, तो जैसे प्रमोद जी बात कर रहे थे कि हम उस सिचुएशन में फिर TFR के बारे में भी सोच सकते हैं कुछ सेलेक्ट पेशेंट। वो डिपेंड करता है कि कब डायग्नोसिस बनी और कितना दिन हो गया आपका दवाई लेते हुए, उस हिसाब से BCR-ABL का वैल्यू होता है। ये बताने के साथ में एक बात और कहूंगी कि कई बार ये BCR-ABL वैल्यू हम इतनी क्लोजली, हम मतलब पेशेंट्स इतना क्लोजली फॉलो करने लगते हैं कि एक बार रिपोर्ट 0.001 आया और दूसरी बार रिपोर्ट 0.002 हो गया, तो उनको लगने लगता है कि ये अभी बढ़ना शुरू हो गया है। ऐसा नहीं है। जब हम बढ़ता है तो हम तब बढ़ा हुआ मानते हैं जब आपकी 2 लगातार की वैल्यू बढ़ती भी आ रही है, और वो बढ़त भी हम बोलते हैं 1 लॉग ज्यादा। मतलब कि अगर आपका वैल्यू 0.001 था, उससे अगर 0.01 हो गया, तो ये चिंता का बात है। 0.001 से 0.002 होने में कोई चिंता की बात नहीं। तो वैल्यूज फॉलो करना इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि वो आपकी कंप्लायंस मेंटेन करता है, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम यू डोंट हैव टू गेट वेरी वरीड लुकिंग एट दैट 1 point difference here and there.
Correct, correct. Very important. Trupti Hakani, Haresh Sonpal, thank you for your questions. There is one question: can CML patients take camphor homeopathic medicine for immunity boosting?
So ये मेरा पहले भी जब लोग मेरे से OPD में सवाल पूछते हैं, और इवन अभी भी वही चीज़ है कि जिन दवाइयों का हमको इंटरेक्शन नहीं पता है, क्योंकि देखिए कैसा है, जब ये दवाइयाँ बनती हैं हम कुछ दवाइयों को लिस्ट करते हैं कि इनका कोई इंटरेक्शन नहीं और ये सेफ है लेना, वो दवाइयाँ ली जा सकती हैं। अनफॉर्चुनेटली आयुर्वेद और होम्योपैथ बहुत लंबे समय से हमारे देश में है, लेकिन इनका कोई इंटरेक्शन टेस्टिंग नहीं हुआ है। तो अगर कोई भी दवा 3-4 दिन या 5 दिन के लिए लेनी है तो मैं उसमें मना नहीं करूंगी, पर अगर ये दवाई आप ग्लीवैक के साथ महीने या उससे ज्यादा लेने वाले हैं, तो जब तक डॉक्टर श्योर नहीं है कि इन दवाइयों का कोई इंटरेक्शन नहीं है, वो दवा लेना अवॉइड करिए, क्योंकि इससे आपका CM का कंट्रोल के ऊपर असर आ सकता है। तो कोई भी होम्योपैथी आयुर्वेदिक, हालांकि हमको लगता है कि ये दवाइयाँ साइड इफेक्ट नहीं देती हैं, लेकिन उसके बाद भी हमको इन दवाइयों से थोड़ा हम अवॉइड करेंगे अनलेस उसका कोई प्रूवन बेनिफिट।
So that's been great. It's been a wonderful 1 hour. I know, time is also of the essence. Any last minute questions? We can maybe another 5 minutes. We can keep this open. Otherwise, I would ask Pramod to give a small little vote of thanks on behalf of Friends of Max.
So I think what I did not answer was what Vandana ji was asking regarding whether you should be scared of doctors or not who are seeing so many patients when you enter the OPD again. So I must.
Yes, Vandana ji, that is your question. Yes.
So see, the thing is, all the doctors now, especially, meaning we were trained in these infection prevention control measures even earlier, but this has become a mandatory part. It has become like repeated training within the hospitals, even in these smaller hospitals. So even doctors have to practice the same hand hygiene. So if I've seen a patient, before I start seeing the next patient, in fact, even that same patient before he moves out, if I have touched that patient or if I have seen anything which belongs to that patient, I clean my hands before that and after that. I continue using mask, and anyone who's coming in contact with patients directly, they're not just using simple surgical masks, they're using N95 masks.
Right.
Even let's presume that the doctor is harboring infection, God forbid that, the doctor whom you have visited, he's harboring that infection, he or she is wearing that mask. So you are no longer at risk of, contracting it from that doctor, provided you were also masked and you used your hand hygiene and your doctor used hand hygiene. As far as distance is concerned, majority of the people now, the duration of consultation with the patient is being minimum, so that there is very little, contact time, so that you are not at risk. And when we say what makes you at risk, if you are more than 15 minutes in contact with a person, the person can be doctor or anyone else who is harboring COVID, the person is without mask, then and at a distance which is less than 1 meter, that makes you at risk. Whenever even you're going to the hospital, make sure that you're following these precautions, that your contact period is less than 15 minutes. doctor is going to be masked, even you are masked and you're maintaining that distance. So then you are safe. So don't worry of doctors. But if in case you find your doctor has not done hand hygiene, please, remind them to, do that, because that's the only thing which can be, missed sometime, especially if you're in a hospital, which is a high volume hospital. So just make sure that, you carry your hand sanitizer, the doctor has to do the hand sanitization, and both of you are masked. And in high volume hospital, any which ways, you don't get time more than 15 minutes with the doctor. So
Yeah, that's really something. There's one question. One of my friends was diagnosed COVID positive today. I met him 10 days ago. How risky is this?
So it all depends. When we say contact, the contact period is taken from the date of onset of symptoms, 48 hours before that. So let's say if I start having fever today, anyone who has come in contact with me on Friday, so today is a Sunday, so anyone who has come in contact with me on Friday, that person has a risk, especially if he was not masked, and if the duration of contact was more than 15 minutes, then in that case, that person is risk. 1 week before the onset of symptoms, you don't have to worry. He or she was your normal friend without COVID.
Okay. Okay. And a repeat question, but this is from a CML patient who has had CML for 15 years. And my eyes are still always swollen nowadays. Even after such a long time, is this normal?
So actually, swelling around the eyes is quite a chronic side effect. Many people continue to have it even after, first few months of imatinib. So as we were just talking, that try using those measures, try reducing salt in your diet, try using little higher pillow in the night. That will reduce the, swelling around the eye. And if it still, is bothering you in terms that when you get up in the morning, you find it very difficult to open your eyes, then in that case, meet your doctor and they may prescribe you small amount of diuretic. But most of the times it's manageable. So I must say that the earlier two measures which I talked about, most of the people find it that they can handle it. There's little bit of puffiness which many people have even otherwise, whether they are on Gleevec or they're not on Gleevec. So that's part of life, and you don't look any less beautiful with that puffiness. So don't worry.
Yeah. So Vinyaji, I hope that answers your question. One more question, Manju. I think this and one more which Nagendra is messaging will be really the last ones. We can always continue this. We can take questions from you and bring you back the answers. But this seems to me a very, very pertinent last kind of a question. One is there any difference between imatinib, that is Gleevec, and the generics? That is one. And the other one is there any treatment for permanent cure of CML without taking Gleevec?
Sure. So I'll take the first question, a second question first. So is there any permanent cure? So answer is yes. Before, Gleevec or imatinib came in picture, we used to do bone marrow transplant for patients who had CML, and that resulted in cure in a proportion of patients. So around 60% if you had, early disease. But having said that, though, we all want to have cure, transplant is something which is not really very desirable treatment. And that's the reason why people kept looking at non-transplant options for CML, because transplant gives a lot of side effects, not only during transplant, even post-transplant. You continue to require some bit of suppression of your immunity, and you develop what we call as graft versus host disease. We used to lose a lot of patients due to transplant also. So that's a reason for getting something which doesn't cure, but at the same time it controls the disease, allows you to maintain your normal lifestyle, not requiring too many other drugs, and that's what the beauty of imatinib is. Just consider, don't think it as an anti-cancer drug. Think it as any other hypertension or diabetes medication. It will continue to take lifelong. This is something very similar to that. So that's my answer to the second question. Coming back to the first question, which I've forgotten happily now.
Difference between imatinib, that is Gleevec, and generic, and any special care for patients who are on generic?
Sure. So when we started using generics earlier, we were quite worried because obviously generics don't undergo the same kind of rigorous testing as an original molecule goes through. But at the same time, we have looked at our own data, and we have been using now generics for decades, 1 decade at least. And we haven't seen much difference in terms of the results. So if the generic is from the good company, so I won't say that's true for all generics. If the generic is from good company, it's still, I think, as good as the vaccine. But if you ask me that I have a hard evidence where I did 300 patients on generic and compared head to head, no, answer is not. We have not run a clinical trial to say that. It's more of a clinical experience and the real world data what we are talking about, and in that it does look that they're pretty similar.
Thank
Okay.
you. Over to you, Pramod.
Thanks, Aman. I take this opportunity to thank Vandana ji and VK Foundation for giving us this opportunity to associate with them. And it was a continued series with Vandana ji's initial program. So today we covered CML in this. And thank you, Vandana ji, for all the support, for the back-end support, and for all the moral support that you gave us to take this program forward. Thank you, Vandana ji.
Thank you.
I thank
You're most welcome.
Dr. Manju for this 1 hour, 10 minutes of her precious time that she gave us. Very calmly answering all our queries and ensuring that giving us this confidence that COVID तो छोटी चीज है, हम तो Gleevec से अपना CML से हम लोग जी रहे हैं. So thank you, Manju ji, for all the support and strength that you've given us. Last but not the least, Amma, thank you for being a backbone and strength through all this crisis. And we thank all those people, those who are working back end to ensure that this program is a success. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for all the Facebook friends, those who have joined us in this telecast. Thank you, and hope to meet you soon with another set of questions, another set of answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Manju. Thanks, Vandana.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. This is
Now we should
really
get back to
wonderful.
this. Namaste.
Yes, namaste, adab, namaste. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manju.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pramod. Thank you, all the FOM. Thank you, my Max team, Rachel, Sudha, Anshika, Nirmesh, Guru Saran. Thank you so much. Jyoti, thank you for staying online. Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.